Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about crystal grids, why I love crystal grids, why I use them, and how they help me. I am so sure some of you are going to benefit from this because seriously, we are all looking for all means and ways of having all the energies that are available to us on this planet support us. So crystal grids have really played an instrumental part in my life, and I want to share about them because I think it's so exciting. I think they're such a powerful tool to amplify energy, to transmute energy, to just increase things and help you manifest the things that you want to manifest on earth. Seriously, these days when I look back, I cannot even believe the number of things that have come to pass as a result of all the crystal grids I used to make in the past. And because of that, I'm so excited to share because I know for a fact that all the intentions that I had set when I made my own crystal grids truly all came to pass. You know, it's surprising because sometimes you get to this point and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? And then when you look back, you begin to see all the steps that you took, all the little things that, I mean, you thought they were little things, but they truly had an energy force behind them and they helped you, and now you're here. And then you're like, what? So anyway, crystal grids really played an instrumental part in my journey. They still do. I still love them. And I always make my crystal grids at the new moon or during the new moon, or when the moon is ready to help me launch. And since there's a new moon coming, so I thought I would share this. Okay, so anyway, I love crystal grids. So what is a crystal grid? Crystal grids are when you take a couple of crystals that you have intuitively selected or that you feel like using for a specific intention, and you put them all together in a particular pattern. Ideally, the pattern should be a sacred geometrical shape. And you put all these things in a specific pattern so that you can fulfill or achieve a personal intention or a universal intention. So you can create a grid based on your own personal desires that you want to fulfill, or you can do a grid for the collective or for the universe or for anything. So the thing is, there is networking of these crystal energies according to the pattern that you have created them, a sacred geometrical pattern. Or if you've been given a pattern or a shape by spirit, by your intuition, or by your higher guidance, use that energy of that sacred shape that you have been given to create a crystal grid. So for example, you would have a crystal grid in different shapes. Maybe you have them, in the form of a square, which is usually a very grounding way of creating crystal grids. So you can create maybe, for example, you can put quartz crystals at the corners and one crystal in the center to amplify the energy of the quartz, depending on what you want to achieve. Or you can use a geometrical shape like that of a spiral, the spiral shape. So you can create your crystals in the form of spirals. You can just create different crystals and put them in the shape of a spiral, because all these things have meanings. Spiral usually either increases the energy pattern or decreases the energy of things. I have made videos on sacred geometry. You can look at that if you feel guided to. Or you can create, crystals grids in the shape of circles. You can just put all your crystals in this circular part. I use this circular shape especially when I want completion, because a circle symbolizes completion. Or you can create crystal grids in the shape of a triangle. When I want to amplify energy, I'll create crystal grids in the shape of a triangle. So I'll have like crystals in the pattern of a triangle. And I know what that sacred symbol means and what the crystals are that I'm using for that specific symbol. And boom, I tell you, things just happen. I just get amplified and magnified and expanded in so many ways. So before I go further, I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to show you at the beginning of this video one of my crystal slab that I usually place my grids on. So let me try to show you. I'm not really good on with moving the camera around, and it's just too much for me to even try to figure it out. So this is a bootleg way of doing this. So I'm just going to show you roughly, but this is so this is my I don't know if you can see it. This is my huge selenite slab seat, and I usually create my crystal grids on this slab. I hope you can see it, and hopefully it's clear. So I usually create the grid on this slab because selenite is a very high vibration stone. It's very aura cleansing. It's really full of light, and this crystal, trust me, this slab is just oh my gosh, I'm just so thankful for this slab. It just has such a high frequency. So I really love it. This I can't even begin to say enough about this. So anyway, I use this to create my crystal grids. I love to create lapis lazuli crystal grids on it. So you can see some pieces of lapis lazuli on it. And then I have a lot of crystal points. I don't know if you can see them clearly. Just these little crystal points to help direct energy that I place in a sacred geometrical pattern. But you can't really see them clearly here because the light is too much. And then I usually have my kyanite crystal on my crystal grid for whatever reason. Anyway, I'm going to explain this briefly. So basically, I usually have a base crystal, a base for all my crystal grids, and I'm so lucky that I have this selenite slab, but you can use anything, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Anywho, okay, so let me tell you an interesting thing. You know, my life has always been guided by dreams. Dreams have really helped me shift from one situation to the next situation. So dreams have played a very important role for me in my life. So I used to make crystal grids based on information that I had read on books and also some other videos that I had seen about how people make crystal grids, and it worked pretty fine. But everything in life has to be an experience. It has to be an experience. You know, you have to feel things, you have to experience things. And when you're taught by spirit, when you're listening to your intuition, when you're following guidance from your spirit, I'm telling you, you can get information that is so useful, that can shift you and expand you so much that I always say, please listen to your dreams, listen to your spirit, listen to your inner guidance, follow your own intuition, listen to your crystals. Every other thing out there that's available is useful, but you know, there's nothing more useful than your own truth and than your own guidance. So anywho, one day I had a dream, and in that dream, this guy showed me a lot of kyanite crystals. People were running to buy kyanite crystals, like these type of crystals. This is a blue kyanite. So in the dream, people were buying people were running to buy lots of kyanite crystals. So I stopped and asked the guy, oh my gosh, why is everybody buying all this kyanite? And the guy told me, Caroline, people are buying these kyanites because kyanites are angel wings. They are angel wings. And I would advise you to use them on your selenite. I would advise you to use them with selenite to create a crystal grid. So I was so shocked because I had never heard anything like that. The man was like, well, use kyanite and selenite on a crystal grid. And this was a dream that was so real. I know those kinds of dreams. So I got up, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get lots of kyanites and lots of selenites. So I started using kyanites and selenites on my grids because I got that information from a dream. And after that, I got additional information of how to make the grades and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting. So kyanite really, actually I Googled kyanite and I did see some people describing kyanites and as angel wings. And they do look like angel wings. So I really felt excited about it. It's so exciting. Can you imagine? Well, yep. So my kyanites always go on my with selenite on my grids. And it's just so exciting. So I would be curious to know if anyone has had any kind of dream of that nature. I mean, have you ever got information from dreams on how to build things? I know so many people get these kinds of information, but it's so interesting if you would share that with me. It's so exciting. Let's share the love, right? So anyway, so how do you make crystal grids? You need crystals and you need a lot of crystals also to help you accomplish your dreams. It's almost like having a team. You can have of players in a game. One player is good, but the whole team closes the game. You know, you can't do things alone. So crystal grids, I love them because they help me in my purpose. I want to be a part of a group of people who collaborate together to make things work. That's the way the world is going. We cannot just do things by ourselves. We need help. So crystal grids also symbolize that aspect of collaboration, of unity, of how all these crystals work together to create a common goal. And just, I feel like that's just me and my energy. I want people to work together to create a common goal, because when we all come together, we become one big energy, and this one big energy goes out there and we do great things, right? So I love crystal grids, and I'm so excited to keep creating crystal grids because that is really my intention. So I'm really fired up for this. So if you have one crystal, that's great, but a crystal grid has to have additional crystals working together in support. Okay, so how do I create crystal grids? Usually I have I take a base color. You know, if it's green, you know, I'll take my crystal slab, this huge slab here, and I'll put it under maybe a green rag. Oops, can you see the rag? I'll put underneath this huge slab, there's a green colored can you see it? Okay, it's a green colored carpet, or sometimes I place a piece of cloth or a rag or something that has that energy of healing. So green to me symbolizes healing energy. And when I'm creating a grid and I want healing energy to be the underlying thing behind it, so I'll place the green under the crystal slab. It doesn't have to be, if you don't have a huge slab, it doesn't really matter. You can have a base that's of whatever color. This is another selenite that I have. I could place, you know, a purple underneath it, or a purple. I love post-it notes because they have such beautiful colors. So I might put purple under here, under my slab, because I usually like to use slabs for my crystal grids. You can even put it on the ground, it doesn't matter. So this purple will symbolize to me the spiritual energy that I want infused in my grid. And then I will do the grid. So usually I'll place that underlying colors. If it's green, I want healing energy in my life to activate and infuse my crystal grid. That's what I'm going to put underneath the stones. And then I will put I'll select the stones that I want to use for my grid. And my advice is always know your crystals. Your crystals always know what they're here to do. So it's up to you to interact with your crystal in a way that helps you understand clearly what the crystal is to be used for, so that by the time you're doing your grid, you know exactly what that crystal is for. When I want transformation in my life, I'm going to be using a lot of malachite on my crystal grids, because I know already that malachite is my crystal for transformation and change. So when I want changes, you know, real changes and truth, I'll use my malachite crystals. When I want love, I know what crystals symbolize love. Most people use rose quartz, but if rose quartz is not your crystal, there might be a crystal in your life that makes you feel love. So what is that crystal that makes you feel love and loved? So that crystal is what you should use for your crystal grid, because then it makes sense, because it has that energy that you already feel. So don't go by what anyone else is saying. Rose quartz is not for everyone, you know. So you pick the crystal that is right for you and use it on your grid. And then, so you put the underlying, I put the underlying base of color. If it's, I want green for health and vitality and life and love, pink cloth at the bottom, depending for love. You know, if I want a lot of vitality, I'd probably have something orange in the bottom of my grid to infuse that love. If I want something spiritual, I'll have something purple or blue, depending on whether I want to express myself or whether I want peace. It all depends on a lot of things. And then I'll use sacred geometrical shapes to place my crystals. I mean, this is just a bootleg version, because seriously, I don't even know how to figure out how to use this camera to make this grid, or to show you guys the grid. So I'll take, if I have lapis lazuli, for example, I'll have my base color at the bottom. This is spirituality grid, for example. My base color of whatever cloth, you know, my selenite slab, it's square in shape, which is sacred geometrical shape for, you know, I need grounding, or I need, you know, I need kind of stability, because a square, sacred geometry, symbolizes stability and grounding and earthing and things like that. Then I would take the shape that I want. It could be circular for you. It could be a spiral shape, depending on whether you want something to increase in your life or decrease in your life, regardless. Then I'd put my lapis lazuli in a square shape, for example. I'll take 4 pieces of lapis lazuli, and maybe I'd put you know, a pyramid. You know, this is a quartz, clear quartz pyramid in the center, and you know, the pyramid shape amplifies the energy. It helps to expand you, you know. So then I'd put this in the middle as the centerpiece of my crystal. And I'll just, for me, lapis lazuli is really a crystal that helps me manifest my dreams, you know. So then I would use this crystal grid, let the and infuse it, you know, with energy, with love. Love energy usually has to be at the center of everything I do. Or if it's peace that I want, usually I will write, let me show you something. I will usually have something like this, you know. For this says me and my family. There's a love heart sign. It's green in color for healing energy, heart colored energy. And then this, I want love for me and my family, for example. And that is something usually that I'd put at the bottom of my grid if I'm making one, or it's going to be at the, you know, underneath these crystals right here. Oh my gosh, this is so bootleg, but I hope you understand. Okay, so then I would infuse the crystal grid with love and with the intention of love, or I would just write it, you know, with my third eye and with my heart's eye. I would envision the word love or peace on this grid and send that energy to my grid, and I would hope and trust and intend for that energy to start working to amplify this grid. And then sometimes I would use little crystal points. I have crystal points of this nature, very many of them, and I'd use them to direct the energy of the crystal. So I would put the grids, the crystals facing the same direction, so that the energy is flowing round, you know, all the points are facing the same direction, so that the energy of the crystals are flowing together. So it would be something like this. So you see this point faces the lapis lazuli and goes here, amplifies it, because quartz is an amplifier. So it amplifies the energy of the lapis lazuli, which for me creates my dreams and intentions. And then there's a main crystal at the top center, which also amplifies energy. And all the energy goes round and round and round. And then I would leave this crystal grid in a corner with my intention set. And I would say, you know, for example, that my intention is to manifest more friendships or much more collaborative activities. And this is the purpose and the intention of my grid. And I'll just let this thing lay there and sit there in my sacred space. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you, things just happen so radically. And sometimes your grid doesn't have to be complex. My understanding is you cannot use one crystal for a grid, because what's the point? It's a network of crystals working together, and all crystals want to support each other. You know, the crystals they teach us a lot. They want to work together, so they all collaborate well. So sometimes I just use a rose quartz crystal for love. This is really truly my stone for my family, you know. And usually, as I said, I'll put the people that I want underneath the rose quartz crystal, and then I'll put the amplifying quartz crystals in a north, east, west, south direction. Each of them will be facing north, east, west, south, which to me means as above, it's like a cross, you know. So I'll put the amplifying energy to come from these rose quartz and reach out to the members of my family, which are under this grid. So it's going to be this in the center, and these little points, one facing the north, one facing the east, one facing the south, and one facing the west. And to me, that is as above, so below. And then the east to west is usually for me, your hands are wide open and you're radiating this love to all the members of my family who are in this grid. And my highest intentions for spiritual growth and love are usually infused for my family on this rose quartz with my grids. And then sometimes I also use my what is it called? My amethyst crystal cluster, just because it has all these energy points, you know, and these energy points, they can be programmed I mean, I don't program them. They can be used to infuse energy in different directions. So this is usually a very good one for me to just to just send out energy in all directions, especially in my home and to the world at large. I just want the spiritual energy to infuse my life, to infuse my home, to infuse my life. So I love this huge cluster, and I usually just create, you know, obviously I put different crystal points, I make different sacred geometrical shapes that I want, and I usually have the spiral underneath this because I want this energy expanding outward. So usually this spiral sacred geometry shape is expanding outside from this quartz crystal and going out into the world. So I love that also. And then it just depends. If you have a crystal that's shaped in the shape of an oval or a sacred geometrical shape, you know, because sacred geometry is energy, is matter. And when matter takes a specific shape, then that energy means something. It carries a certain energy. So if you already have a crystal in the shape of a geometrical shape, I usually use this malachite. I infuse all my intentions and what I want and the energies inside this. And I know the purpose for which it's in my life. It's there for change malachite. I'll use my amplifying crystals or any other crystal that I'm led and guided in a sacred geometrical shape, and I'll put that energy out. In the same way, you can use, you know, if you have a pyramid or you have a circular crystal or whatever. So it is pretty interesting. So how do I activate my crystal grids? Once the crystal grids have been made, usually I don't activate them when I know the purpose of the crystals, because that's why it's very important to know what your crystal is. If you don't know the purpose of your crystal, I've seen some people activating their crystals, and I used to activate them also as well. Like you would have your crystals in a crystal grids in a particular shape. There's so many crystal grids on YouTube. You can look at them, and then there would be one centerpiece, and then you would use another piece to kind of activate the grid, you know, in a pie shape. You know, you touch the tip of the central grid, the central piece, and then move to, you know, move to the next piece and back to the center, and then to the next piece, and then back to the center and to the next piece. I mean, there are very interesting videos out there on how to activate your crystals. And then, wait, I'm even getting so excited. Anywho, once you've activated your grid, then your grid is good to go. The energy is already running. Sometimes you can activate your grid by intention. These days I activate my grid by intention. I activate it either once, depending on numerology. For me, one means, you know, it means something. Number two, if I want peace and balance in my life as the overall purpose of the grid, I'll state my intention twice. You know, if I want creativity in my life, I'll state my intention thrice. If I want grounding, I'll state my intention 4 times. You know, in my mind, I'll speak it out, whatever. The words have power. If I want, you know, depending on what I want, if I want change in my life and adventure, I'll state my intention for my grid 5 times. I'm ready to go all out for these things, I tell you. If I want, my grid is about work and health, I'll state my intention 6 times. If it's about spirituality, I'll state it 7 times. I have all the time in the world to do these things. If I want, you know, infinite love, I'll state my intentions 8 times. And, you know, this is the symbol of the grids that I create for if I want infinite love or an infinite connection, and, you know, from heart to heart. I usually create a grid in this shape. So my grid will always have this shape. So if I want completion in my life of a situation, my intention will be stated 9 times. And trust me, I'm gonna sit there and say it 9 times. Yeah, because I need all the help and support of numerology and astrology and all these hidden things. You know what I'm saying? These things have power, and there's a reason why they are there. So, and it's just so exciting. So that is how I do my crystal grids. It's been a little bit bootleg, but I hope you get the gist of it and the information. I hope this helps you out there. It's a beautiful time. The world is wonderful. There's so many things available. Just go with it. Trust your gut. Run with it. Don't hold back. Do whatever it is that you need to do to get your life popping. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video and about crystal grids. Let me know how you do your crystal grids. There's a lot of information about crystal grids that will be beneficial for you. You can find it out there, but this is just my way of doing it. So I'll see you guys next time. I love you. Bye.